Welcome and welcome back to my channel Bumzibi Beauty. For those that are new, my name is Juliana and welcome to another monthly ranking video. So today I'm going to be ranking all the palettes I used in March. So there are actually some palettes I used in March that I've left out of this ranking, and this is because I used them in detail in April, which I'll rather rank them in April because at that point I've used the palette so much enough to be able to give a detailed review of those palettes, so I'm leaving those out from March. But April is gonna be an epic month because I'm filming in April, and as at the time I'm filming right now I have used 18 palettes, so I don't know how I'm gonna rank April, but we're just gonna get on with the March ranking now. As I'm holding up the palette, you probably see my fingers, my red fingers. My fingers are stained. So it's back of my hand in case I want to swatch anything. And that's from the palette I've used on my eyes, which is the Love Epidemic palette. The palette is so pigmented, so I've got a bit of staining on my fingers and on my hand. Yeah, but we're going to walk through all the staining. So in total, I'm going to be ranking 9 palettes in March. In 9th place is P. Louise All I See Is Signs palette. And this palette, I'm only ranking it in the 9th position because I only used 2 shades. It is a beautiful palette. So this is the inside of the palette. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. So for the look, I use this orange here as well as this one on the outer edge here. So on the same row, the one at the beginning and the one at the end. This orange, oh my days, absolutely beautiful and pigmented. It's a shame that the high look I use it for, I didn't like how the picture turned out, but it was a beautiful look. So I used those 2 shimmers plus another palette I'm going to be showing you later on, and I used them with Terramon's singles. So I think it's Veil, Nebula, and some other shade. I can't remember what the other one is called, but pretty much about 3 singles and those 2 shades from this palette. Absolutely beautiful. This palette is gorgeous. There's no surprise here. P. Louise formula is just so beautiful, and matte formula is in the same league as Blend Bunny, Pimby, Viziat. They are just beautiful and they are a joy to use. So that is the only reason why the All I See Signs palette is coming in the 9th position. Alright, in 8th place is the Beauty Bay Midnight palette. So I have the 9 shades palette, and this is the inside of the palette. So I use this along with the other 2, the Etty and the pink one. I use them for the same look, but this one is lower in my ranking because I couldn't make use of the purples. So as in they weren't enough, I had to dig into another palette, to kind of finish up the look I wanted, and basically that's the only reason why I'm ranking it lower. This is coming in at number 8, but all the shades in this palette are beautiful. They were soft, they were blendable, but it just didn't go deep enough in terms of matte for me to be able to finish my look with this palette. So there is a darker purple, I want to say blue purple, but it's shimmer. But as far as the matte is concerned, this is the darkest, and I needed like a pretty much like the kind of purple on my outer corner. I needed that, so I had to dig into another palette, and yeah, that's the only reason why it's lower in my ranking. So it is number 8. In 7th place is the Fate palette. So this is one of the Infinity palettes from Pimby, and I'm ranking at number 7. I did use it with another palette for the same look, but this one I'm ranking lower than the other one because the matte in the palette, they don't go deep enough. So this was the one I initially wanted to use on its own, but there was nothing for me to darken the outer corner with, so I had to dig into this other palette I will show you later on. Also because the shimmer in here is a little bit too dark for me to kind of use on my inner corner. So it's got 2 shimmers, this coppery one which is like a plain shimmer, and then this one which is like one of these nice chromatic beautiful shimmer. So it is a beautiful shimmer, but just too dark for my outer corner. So look at that. That is beautiful. So it's like a taupey brown. I'm just going to quickly swatch that for you. So it's kind of like too dark for the look I was going for, and so I had to dig into this other palette. And then because, like I said, the mattes just don't go deep enough, so that's why I'm ranking it in the 7th place. Alright, ranking in just a little bit higher than the Fate palette, which I've just shown you now, is the Infinity Exchange palette. Now this is the one I'm talking about. I had to dig into this one to complete my look. Now this is just ranking a little bit higher than that because it on its own is quite enough. You can do a complete look with this one, So it's got like a dark brown, it's also got like a black for you to darken your outer edge with, and also the shimmer in here is enough for you to use in your inner corner. So basically you can have a complete look with this one, and this one has a gorgeous chrome. It's so beautiful. In fact, the two shimmers in this palette are just so beautiful. So this is the darker shimmer, and then this is the chrome one. Can you see that? That is beautiful. And the beauty of this palette again is if you layer it on this other one, you get intensity. It takes the color to another level. So I like this palette. The exchange overall was more of a complete palette than the Fate palette, but I'm not a neutral person really, and that's why this one is coming lower in my ranking. It's not because of the performance or anything like that. This palette, I like it. So if you are kind of like a neutral kind of person, I feel like the exchange palette is more complete than the Fate palette. So if you just wanted to get one out of all the neutral Infinity palette, then this is one of the ones I would recommend. But for the month of March, I'm ranking Infinity Palette Exchange at number 6. Okay, in 5th place is another Pimby palette. So it seems Pimby is number 7, number 6, and number 5. So in 5th place is the colored Wasichana palette. In fact, I normally used to call this Wasichana palette, but looking at it is Wasichana. So Jamrock, Wasichana, and it's the pastel palette. So this is the inside of the palette, and you're gonna see this in April again because I used it extensively in both months. So I just have to kind of like show you and tell you, you know, about the performance of the shades I used. So for the look I created, I mostly went into the blues, the purples, this little one to kind of like blend the blues, and then I used a little bit of the shimmer, and I think I used the single shade as well with this one, but those are the shades I mainly went into for this palette. I mean, you should be seeing the look. It's like a purple and blue look, but it was beautiful. And I think I also went into the orange actually to blend my crease, to blend my crease. So yeah, I did use a few shades in March, so I thought it was worth including it in my ranking, just so I can tell you about the performance, at least for the shades I've used. So Pimby Wasichana palette is number 5 for March ranking. Okay, in 4th place is the Beauty Bay Ati palette. Now again, I used this for the same look as the midnight one, but this just performed much better, or it was more fulfilling, more complete than the midnight palette. And this is the inside of it. So you can see this is varied. So it's got like a bright, you know, shamrock like color green, then it's got like a little bit of grungy green here, and it also got like a lighter green to kind of blend. So it is almost complete, at least more complete than the midnight one. So that's why this one is higher up. And again, the performance of this palette is the same. Beautiful. It blended so beautifully. It was soft. Both the matte, both the shimmers, they are just beautiful. Now I didn't use the shimmer for the same look. For the look I'm showing you, I mostly used the mattes in this palette, but they were just soft and they performed so well. But the palettes I'm ranking in between number 1 and 3, they were just much better than this palette. But the Hattie palette is number 4 for my March ranking. Now in 3rd place is the Berries palette. Again, like I said, remember this is from the same look, but this one is just so beautiful. Let's forget the fact that it's pink. This one is just more of a complete palette, and the matte I used, oh my days, it was so nice. And this is the inside of the pink palette, and this is not the first time I'm using this palette. I've had to dig it out for other looks, and I'm sure there was a video, I can't remember when the video was out, but there's a video on my channel where I had to use the darker pinks, you know, to kind of complement that look that I was doing. So this palette is beautiful. The range of colors in this palette is so complete. I mean, from that hot pink shade to the medium kind of pink to like peachy pink to like peach to like dark pink, and then the darkest pink. Oh, this palette is just beautiful. It's really beautiful. As far as ranges of color is concerned, for a 9-pan palette, I think it's pretty much perfect. So I had no choice. I had to rank this higher than all the other palettes, even the 3 that I bought together from Beauty Base. So the Berries palette is number 3 for me as far as March ranking is concerned. Alright, in 2nd place is another Beauty Bay palette, but this time around is the Utopia palette. This palette has been a saving grace for quite a few looks that I've done. I mean, this palette is kind of almost neon-like, so I wasn't expecting it to blend. I was expecting to use it like a chunk color or placement color, to place the color and then find another shade to kind of blend it with, because normally neon can be very difficult to blend out, but oh my days, every shade in this palette is beautiful and blendable. I don't know how they've done it, especially these purples. You wouldn't expect purples, neon like purples, to even blend. I mean, purples normally, neon or whatever, they are usually difficult to work with, but to have a neon like purples blend like that, it's just amazing. At least 3 times in March I've had to dig into this palette for one shade or the other, either for the inner corner, for the middle of the lid, or for the outer corner, and I thought it deserved to be in the second place because truly it saved a lot of looks for me in March, and I still continue to use this in April as well, but I had to mention it in March. So definitely the Beauty Bay Utopia palette is number 2 for me this month. Okay, the number 1 palette for me in March is the spring palette that I put together for the challenge, the IG Instagram challenge that we had to do. So it's I should be showing you a picture of the palette now. So it's a mixture of greens, your pinks, and a few other shades. But the palette really surprised me. I was not expecting to like the palette that much. It's absolutely beautiful. I know I put the palette together, but honestly, it is really a beautiful palette. So it's a gorgeous mixture of dark greens, your shamrock like greens, mid-range greens, hot pinks, and I also put a few of cleaner multichromes in it. I mean, I rarely get to use those multichromes, so I was so happy to be able to put good use to those multichromes for this particular palette. And I also did 3 looks out of that palette. Honestly, I am proud of that palette. I'm not a typical pink person, which was why I needed to build the palette in the first place, because the challenge, I just couldn't come up with a look. The look is here on my channel, and I will link that video to this video so you can see. But honestly, I enjoyed using that palette. I had to stop myself at 3 looks because I could have done 5 looks from that palette. It was just a beautiful gorgeous palette. The palette is also on my Instagram. I did swatches of all of the shades so you can see from my Instagram, but you should be seeing a picture of the palette as well as the looks I created with that palette. But yeah, it was self-fulfilling. It was a happy bright palette. I really love that palette. I think that palette is really part of the many things that pulled me out of the makeup drought that I was in, and just kind of dumpy mood that I was in, because the brightness of that palette was just so inspiring. You know, I love colors, so to see all those colors together, it was just beautiful. I was inspired to create more looks, and from the inspiration to create more looks, I was able to create other palettes. I was able to use other palettes. It was just fun. It was just fun for me. Yeah, I mean, I just love the palette. I mean, regardless of the fact that I was the one that put the palettes together, so for me it's definitely number 1. It was a fun palette to put together, and it was also a fun palette to use. Alright guys, that's mostly all the palettes I used in March. Like I said, I don't know how I'm going to rank April, because I've been having real fun with my palettes and just doing different eye looks, either filming them or just doing the looks and just putting the picture on Instagram. But I've been having a lot of fun using my palette in April. I mean, I'm on number 18 like I said, so and we've still got a few days to go in April, so I don't know. I think I might have to do maybe top 15 if it's gonna take too much time, but yeah, but we'll see when we get to April rank. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this video. So those are all the palettes I've used in March and I've ranked. So I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me and you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you on this platform. And until next time,